I know a lot of the pros, they don't tell you stuff like this. They just go, oh, these are the steps. This is how we do it. A, B, C, D. And there you go. Then you'll be able to bunny hop. And then you just need to practice a lot. Hey guys, it's Tony with N2B Droppin', and here we combine mental health and mountain biking to create this crazy awesomeness, which I call my channel, I guess you could say. All right, so today guys, we're gonna be going over a very cool thing. One of the things that I struggled with was understanding how to utilize a bunny hop with jumping. Because a lot of people, you hear all the time, like, hey, the first thing you should learn to do if you want to learn to jump is to learn to bunny hop. But once you learn to bunny hop, how does that apply to jumping? Because I remember when I learned to bunny hop, I could bunny hop for years, but I could ever jump. So how does that whole mystery work? So we're gonna talk about that today. I'm gonna tell you guys how you apply a bunny hop correctly to a mountain bike jump. And guys, feel free in the comments to correct me in any way, to add some 2 cents or anything like that, because you know, I want everybody to be getting good and accurate information. I'm not a professional, but I'm just giving you my personal experience and how bunny hopping has helped me to learn to jump and to send it higher on jumps. So all right guys, if you're interested in that, let's keep watching the video and let's have a good time. My goodness, it is humid out here. It is insane. So I'm gonna even take this off while I'm doing this. All right, so in the first video, I used some actual mountain bike handlebars to demonstrate this. Second video, I used a hoe, and now I'm finding a stick. So now I'm gonna be utilizing a stick to act as mountain bike handlebars so I can demonstrate to you guys the first steps of a bunny hop, because you need to understand how a bunny hop correlates to jumping. So let's first go over that really quick. Here's your handlebars. First step is you're gonna jump up, you're gonna basically preload, you're gonna squash your weight down, straight down into the bike, and send your weight back into a backwards L shape as you roll back. Like as I always say guys, the reason why I fell backwards is because I was legitimately squashing down and sending my weight to the back, and I have to catch myself. So once you squash down, you do the backwards L shape, and as your weight begins to lift that front tire up, you stand straight up, bring the bike to your waist, and then send it straight out into leveling it, okay? So now that you guys understand that and those steps, so you got your preload, backwards L shape. Once your tire comes up, you stand straight up and then you level. So now I'm gonna show you how that correlates to jumping. So think of it like this, guys. When you're approaching a jump, you're going to preload. You gotta preload, you have to preload. And what that means is, guys, so important to understanding how to jump. Like one of the main things that I did not get was that preloading is not sending your weight straight down into the bike just to compress your rear shock. Preloading is literally pushing down your back shock equally with your front. So you're gonna be preloading down and at the same time squashing that front suspension, because that's what's gonna keep you level, I realized. So there's a psychological issue that happens when you preload, because you know the first step, preload to a jump, right? There's something that goes in our minds that some of us tend to do. When we just preload, we only compress the rear shock. And the reason why we're doing that is because we don't recognize that we need to push into the jump. As we're preloading, we literally have to use our front suspension and use force to press into that jump. And what that's gonna do is keep you level. Because if you just preload your rear shock, it's going to send you forward into an OTB. So if you're coming towards a jump and you hit that lip and you're just compressing your rear shock, it's gonna send you like this. Whereas if you compress equally your front shock and your rear shock appropriately, it'll send you up, and then you can do that leveling out. Okay, so problem number one, you're not forcing down your front or pushing in your front suspension equally with your rear shock. And it doesn't necessarily have to be equal every time. It varies depending on the jump. And I guess this is one of the aspects of why jumping can be so hard. It's because every jump is a little bit different. And so you kind of have to adjust to each jump. That's why it's good to pick one set of jumps and continue to do those set of jumps over and over. All right, so when it comes to utilizing the steps of a bunny hop, the one thing you're gonna throw out the door that's different from the bunny hop, you're not gonna squash down and go send your weight straight back. You're gonna get rid of the backwards L-shaped step, because the jump is acting as sending your weight back and lifting up your front tire. So you're foregoing the backwards L shape in favor of standing straight up once you get to that lip and then leveling out. So really, that's really one of the main differences in bunny hopping and jumping, is that you're not using your weight to pick up the front tire because the jump is doing it itself. Jumping for me was one of the hardest things that I've ever had to conquer, and I'm still conquering it. I can't just show up to any bike park and send things like crazy madmen. I'm legitly scared of heights. I have a lot of anxiety when it comes to jumps. I don't want to get hurt and all these things, and I take things very slow. And I honestly, there was a point in my mountain biking about maybe a year ago, I mean 2 years ago too. It was happening in the recent, maybe even the last 6 to 8 months. I felt that I'm like, you know what, I just might not ever be able to jump. Maybe there's just something that's not in me that's able to do it, because I would try and fail and fail and fail. So guys, if you guys are, can't do jumps like this, be encouraged, because just a few months back, I could not do it either. And for the longest time, I rode a bike and I could not jump. And I was legitimately afraid of jumping, but I wanted to jump at the same time too. So just to encourage you guys with that just because you can't do it now, you can do it. And one of the things that I always like to say on this channel, every failure is one step closer to making it happen. So every time you fail, over and over and over, you're just marking that checkbox off of like, oh, that's one less time that I have to do it and before I actually succeed in making it happen. So I hope this video helps. I hope it made a little bit of sense, because I know a lot of the pros, they don't tell you stuff like this. They just go, oh, these are the steps. This is how we do it. A, B, C, D. And there you go. Then you'll be able to bunny hop. And then you just need to practice a lot. They are, I think, so good at what they do. They really have a mental break when it comes to them, as years ago when they first started riding. So they didn't really think about any of these things. They just practiced and did them. And they kind of have a disconnect between the people, the noobs, so to speak, who watch the video and want to learn, and how they break it down because they're pros and it makes sense to them, whereas us, it makes absolutely no sense. So that's what I kind of like. As I grow in mountain biking, I want to give you guys those tips from the perspective of, hey, I'm just like you. I suck just as bad as you, and this is how actually I made it happen. Or this is the little step that they left out that they didn't even think about because their just brain is somewhere else, because they're so good and it's been so long since they've actually learned how to do the trick or not. So yeah, I'd appreciate you guys' support on Patreon so I can continue to grow this channel and grow the cause, mental health and mountain biking, getting people out who are suffering from PTSD and various traumas, getting them on the mountain bike to help decrease their symptoms of depression, anxiety, PTSD, you name it. One day we're gonna build something huge and awesome. Once I become licensed, then I'll be executing the next phase of my plan for this channel. A licensed therapist, that is. So that's about 1 year out. From then until now, we're gonna be pushing the content. We're gonna be, making as much stuff as I can to bring value to you guys. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it helped ultimately, guys. All right, guys, stay strong, keep pedaling. This is Tony with NTB Dropping, guys, and I'm dropping the heck out.